Welcome back, TCS viewers. It is Chris and Jordan here for another TCS After Dark.
Episode 2.
Episode 2 from the TCS offices in the basement because we're trying to change up the location.
Exactly, mix it up.
As much as you can do in a store. Now, we're looking at the Nikon D4s tonight, and we're doing it as an After Dark because we have opinions about this camera.
Yep.
But it hasn't changed that much to really warrant a full field test, right?
Exactly.
What are you excited about on this new camera?
I mean, honestly, not much.
Right.
There's some stuff I'm curious about, definitely, so we're going to take a look at that today.
Okay, well, the D4, first off, video. You're the video guy.
Yep.
What did we think about the D4 video?
I mean, we shot an episode on the D4, the 5D Mark III versus D800 Part 1.
Right.
And it was soft.
Yeah.
Like, barely sharp for 720p standards, let alone 1080. So, this one here, new processor.
Okay.
They're saying improved video performance.
Okay.
We're getting 60p on it now.
Okay, so a few changes.
Yeah. So we're going to put those to the test, see if there really are some serious enhancements made there, which it needed.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, this is the D4S. It looks and smells and feels like a D4. But the S brings up a few things. First off, every time they put this designation, it is subtle.
Yeah.
S for subtle.
That's what it stands for.
S for I'm skeptical that much has actually changed on this thing, all right? I mean, we're supposed to have higher ISO performance, better buffer rate, 11 frame per second shooting, and better video. So we're going to do some tests. We're going to try it out, see if this really does exceed this S designation or if it's just another subtle change. This is
I don't
so
know
crowded.
how people work in here for 40 hours a week.
Gosh. All right, tell us about video on this camera, Jordan. What did you find?
So the D4 was universally kind of panned for video because of that soft image from it. So D4S comes out in their press release. It's full of all these video-related, blurbalism, marketing speak. So I go, I test it out. I got soft video. The one thing they had to improve on this camera.
do it.
So.
But what about the better bit rates? Okay, I mean, is that not an improvement on this camera?
I mean, motion wasn't an issue before.
Right.
The motion compression is actually pretty decent on this. And we do get 60p now.
Right,
you can see some
slow-mo,
examples of
okay.
that. And it looks decent, but it's still soft.
Right, and you just can't do anything about that. Post, I mean, it's
It doesn't clean up very well.
Ah.
So we actually, just for sake of comparison, to see if it was as bad as I thought it was, we put it and shot it side by side with a 1DX. Exact same lens, rolled some 1080p video. You can see the crops here. Noticeably sharper on the Canon.
Right.
But what blew my mind is I then got an equivalent lens, put it on the D3300.
Which we love. We love the D3300.
Their entry-level camera, their absolute starter, and it absolutely blows the doors off the D4S, the $7,000 camera.
Yeah.
That is more than 10 times as expensive.
Okay, but it can't be all bad. This camera has amazing low-light performance. Does that translate into the video?
I mean, that is kind of its secret weapon. Like, the low-light video on this is pretty amazing. So, usually when you're shooting video, you can't light with strobes.
Right.
So, we found a way to. We have the Ready lamp from the back of an SB700 Speedlight here.
It's crazy.
And I just ran through the ISOs to see if I could use that to actually properly light you. And as we go up through the ISO range here, I mean, you can see even up to like
12,800.
12,800, 25,600. The blacks are getting a little noise, but it's still really usable.
Right. Especially considering the crappy light that we were providing
Exactly. And you get to the far edge of it, we're seeing, it looks awful.
Sure.
But you can see detail on your shirt. It's unbelievable how good this camera is in low light and how well it holds those blacks together.
Right.
In, up to 25,600, I consider it usable.
Here's my real problem with this,
Yeah.
okay? This kind of camera is aimed at the journalist, right? And we know that newspaper folks now, they have to shoot video and stills.
Exactly.
Do they have an all-around camera that can do both, Jordan?
I think they're still going to want 2 cameras, which defeats everything. I mean, the enthusiast, they might just want a still camera. There's not a journalist out there who doesn't want a capable video camera now.
Okay, now one thing the D4 did really well was focusing. Hey, it could track and shoot. And this is even better with the new processing. We've got a new grouping tracking system. It's supposed to be even more accurate. We get 10 frames per second going up to 11 on this camera. Yeah. And I don't know, what did you find about the focusing?
Well, I went and took it out. So I was on a video shoot, but I was obligated to test the D4. So I pulled out and shot a few frames. You can see here, it's dark. We killed all the ambient light for it. And I did a quick tracking shot with the 9-point grouping, and it's perfect.
Okay.
No issues at all, just like the D4.
Now, one thing I will notice is when you are firing very, very quickly, 11 frames per second, the shutter blackout is minimal. You really don't notice the shutter blacking out that much, especially compared to other SLRs, and that's super cool.
Yeah, for the amount of frames it's shooting, you'd think that it would mostly be blacked out when you're shooting that burst. And it is on the D4 and on like the 1DX, but here it's great. I can still track a subject with no problems. Absolutely. It's wide open for a lot of the time.
You don't get that classic machine gun burst and you've lost your subject, and then when you let go, oh, it's not even in the frame anymore. The only downside I noticed with it, it is a little bit louder, I think, than the D4.
It is, definitely. Now, one of the other big claimed improvements over the D4 is the D4S should have a little bit better low light performance, which is pretty amazing, as the D4 was already really, really competent in this area. So looking at the images here, just like the D4, I mean, it's completely clean and usable. I'd say, you know, well into the 5-digit numbers. Once we get around 25,600, we start to see some reduction in detail, certainly. And, you know, once we go into the new modes, really once we get into the hundreds, it's basically unusable. But that said, I did want to see if it would be better than the original Nikon D4. So I put them side by side here. And you can see there's definitely more detail in the D4S image. You know, about the same amount of grain, but certainly more detail. So I'd say it's about a stop better in the D4S.
Now, when we did our field test on the D4 before with our video, I was really impressed by the buffer rate.
It was crazy. It just kept on going.
It was crazy. The D4S can now do 200 JPEGs in a row.
Okay, I mean, that's awesome.
Right.
But I'd rather know what the raw buffer is on it, where it's really pushing a lot of data around.
Well, we have a couple of experiments we want to carry out tonight, and that can be one of them. Let's bring in Nathan Elson, who's always helped us out with videos. Yeah, Nathan, come on in.
Hey, Nate.
Hey, Nathan.
Hey, guys.
So we've asked you down here because we have a couple experiments we want to try on the D4S, but the first one we want to test out is the raw buffer. The D4S should shoot for around 7 to 8 seconds in raw, okay? So we're going to have a race. You're going to race against it.
What I want to see is the buffer going to clear up first, or the bottom of your fizzy beverage that you're going to try and drink?
Yeah, I think you can do it because I don't think you are a stranger in any way, shape, or form to this kind of test.
Small town boy.
All right, so here we go, Nate. All right, I've got an XQD card in here for the fastest speed possible. I'm just going to fire this like a machine gun. I have faith in you, even though it's a bottle. I know it's tough.
Slight handicap here. Slight handicap.
Well, let's see what's going on. I know you're not used to losing.
All right,
on go. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Here we go. I'm in focus. 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, how close? Very close.
So close.
But the D4S can do it quicker. That was a good try. Okay, Nate, time for the second part of our experiment.
Part 2.
The D4S is a low-light monster, all right? So we're going to experiment. We're going to challenge you here. We're going to turn off the lights. We're going to shoot this in basically complete darkness. This is your light source. I'm going to give you 3 candles.
Oh, man.
This lighter is your portable gas generator, so to speak, all right? Yeah, you got all the model you could ever possibly want with me. Okay, so that's not going to be an issue here. It's going to be all up to how you can light it. Do you think you can do it with the high ISO capabilities on the D4S?
I think you guys are assholes. 20,000 ISO f1.4 at 50th of a second. It is dark in here. It's actually focusing, surprisingly, off this little bit of candlelight. It's not hunting too bad. It's actually locking on pretty quick. So try that one.
Okay, we had an interesting night shooting the D4S, Nate.
We did. Interesting is one way to put it.
What do you think about this?
I mean, high ISO wise, this thing is crazy. 20,000 ISO for all of these shots.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it's For 20,000 ISO, it should be unusable. It should be, but it actually, you know, for something that you're not blowing up large or anything like that, it's
right. We get a bit of softness to be expected.
Yeah, it does get soft.
But I think we can both agree, as far as low light cameras go, nothing can touch this.
Nothing.
Right?
Nothing that I've ever used.
Yeah.
Comes even close.
You know, I know it's $7,000. It is expensive. It's a flagship camera, but think how much money you're going to save on studio lights, right? You get a $6.99 bag of tea lights, you are set.
Yeah, you don't.
I mean, you know, diffusers. You just use tissue paper, whatever. Catch
Try
it on
not
fire.
to light everything on fire.
Yeah, there's that risk. You know, the only thing I'm going to say as a final word on this, the only letdown really I think that Jordan and I felt about was the video. It's still not giving us the quality we want. It's not giving us the control we want. Remember, there's no zebra, there's no peaking. These are things that a journalist that wants to do video and stills at the same time is going to be disappointed with. But if you need to shoot sports, wildlife, low light, this camera's king, hey?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Stills, magnificent.
Thanks so much for joining us for our second episode of TCS After Dark. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys soon.